Today we are making garlic bread. This is so easy. I have a real nice ciabatta loaf here. You're going to need some garlic, you're going to need butter, a little bit of parsley. You could do it without parsley if you want, but I do recommend it. And then we have some cheese in the fridge, which we'll get to at the end. But to start off, you're going to come in, just peel off a good amount of parsley. You can make it as parsley filled as you like flavor-wise. The amount I take out here and I wash, this is pretty much good for about half of that loaf of bread. I'm going to cut it down in the middle, and then you could butter both sides. So this is going to make one half of this loaf. And that's probably, 3 or 4 stalks of parsley. Just after you wash it, I like to come in and try to pull it off of the stem. You don't want all those stems in it. I'm going to put it all into my little food processor here with right around 5 or 6 cloves of garlic. These are fairly large cloves, so always adjust it to the recipe you're making and how garlicky you want it. But in my opinion, the more the merrier here. I'm going to cut off the tips that are just a little bit browned where they connect to the root. That one I opened just to make sure that it's not green on the inside. They look like they were on the verge of going green. Look at how big that clove is, Jesus. And now I'm just going to cut these up, throw them in without those tips, and then mix that with the parsley. And we're just going to pulse this. You want it to come together almost like a paste. To aid that, I'm going to add in a little bit of olive oil and then a little bit of salt as well. You're going to get salt from the butter and you're going to get salt from the cheeses, but it does help at this point to just add a little bit. And then we're just going to pulse that. You want this to become as much of a paste as you can, but you still want to see pieces. You want to see garlic pieces. You want to see parsley pieces. Right here is exactly what I'm going to be looking for. As you can see, it's all blended together nicely, but you could see all the individual components. We're going to take that out. We're going to put that into a mixing bowl. You could do the butter in here if you want. I don't like the texture that it makes it. I'd rather hand mix the butter. So get that mix out here. And then we're going to add in 1 full stick of butter. I'm going to do 1 stick per half. This is going to give you extra. 1 stick will probably do both, but that's just the general mixing qualities I like here. That spatula unfortunately snapped on me, so switching to this spoon, and then just mix it up. Make sure it's nice and homogeneous. You don't want any big chunks of butter. Try to get all of the elements nice and mixed together so every amount you spread has a good mix of things. And now we're just going to cut this ciabatta in half. You can use a baguette if you want. I think this ciabatta loaf is a little nicer. It's usually wider, the ones I can get in the store, which I think are nice. And they're, in my opinion, just softer and a nicer quality bread. I'm not a huge fan of the other French breads or Italian breads. And now we're just going to spread this on. Grab a spatula and just lather it. You want to really get a good amount on here. The idea when making garlic bread is that the oils in the butter and the little bit of olive oil you added are almost going to fry the top layer of the bread as it cooks. So you want to get it really on there. It's going to soak down into the bread like a sponge as well, which is going to be fantastic. And once you get it on and fully covered every square inch of it like that, once you do that, you're going to throw it onto a baking sheet. I'm going to use some parchment paper, wrinkle it up a little bit if you have issues with it sticking. Thanks for you guys who taught me that trick. You can use tinfoil if you want, but it may stick or it may attach itself to the bread. So I think parchment paper is always a better way. And then I'm going to start this in the oven at around 350 just to get it going. After a minute or two, I am going to go ahead and turn this up to 425. Once I get it up to 425, I'm going to let this go for about 8 minutes. You're just looking at it to make sure you get it right where you want it. You can see here after 5 minutes or so, the edges are starting to brown a little bit. You can see some bubbling from the oils. It's exactly what you want it. If you like your bread real crispy, keep this in longer, obviously. But if you don't, I take it out here after about another 2 minutes in there. And now we're going to sprinkle on the cheese. I'm going to do a base layer here of Parm. You could use any hard cheese you'd like. I think this just gives it a nice texture. And then after that, you're going to layer it with a nice amount of mozzarella. I'm using whole milk mozzarella here. This is also low moisture. It's just probably what you can get in your stores, but it also melts nicely. It's not super liquidy. It's great for this purpose of covering things. It's also great for like a grilled cheese. So get it on there. I'm going to recenter this. I'm going to throw this back in the oven for about 2 minutes. You could also throw your broiler on if you want to melt it a little more, and that's exactly what I'm looking for here. You got those kind of brown bits on the outside where the cheese started to get a little brown. Absolutely perfect. Let me take it out. I'm going to put it on my board. I'm going to let it sit for about 2 or 3 minutes just to cool down a tiny bit so the cheese doesn't slide all over the place and it's a little cooler to handle. And then we're going to cut it just into about 1.5 inch slices. I'm going to cut horizontally here across the bread loaf. And that's all you really need to do. The bread knife is not great for getting all the way through bread like this when it's already cut. So I like to go in with just a sharper knife and kind of when I get to the bottom, separate each piece. But that's it. That is the easiest cheesy garlic bread. Very buttery, very delicious. As you can see here, these pieces are absolutely delicious. The cheese melts and pulls beautifully. You see that butter soaked nicely into the bread. It has nice toastiness around the outside. This is everything you're looking for. The end pieces here are even crustier, so you get that nice mix for people who like harder bread and softer bread. Taste is absolutely fantastic. This is everything I'm looking for in a delicious side.